Welcome back to Sift or Change, where we bring you planet and people conscious conversations. I'm Tammy, and this is Edyta. Edyta is a brilliant guest speaker joining us for a special mini series on travelers' wellness. Edyta, do you want to give us a quick introduction for those who are joining us for the first time and may have missed our last episode?
Tammy, it's wonderful to be here again. My name is Edyta Satchell, we know that. I like to introduce myself as I'm traveler's best friend. So if you are a traveler and you need help and support, you want to look 10 years younger and feel 10 years younger before, during, and after travel, I am your best friend.
For those who missed it, we'll link the first episode below where we cover some great tips on planning before and for your trip. Today, we'll dive into things that can focus on during the trip. And with that, I'm just going to jump straight into my first question for you, Edita. Drawing from your Beauty and Travel Beast book, which tackles issues like stress, dull skin, and fatigue from travel, how do small, consistent habits like those that you mentioned in your 10 Dimensions of Wellness program empower individuals to maintain well-being and drive broader change in their social circles and event participation while traveling?
Tammy, thank you very much. I mean, first of all, I want to say thank you because you mentioned my book. That's my book. I'm telling you, it takes a lot of time to put all of this together, but I hope everyone, whoever is listening and will be watching, take a look at this, and it's available on Amazon. So I really highly recommend. This is the Beauty and the Travel Beast, and I want to tell you one thing. How can I say it? We know the saying. There is the saying, right? Everybody knows that we are the as strong as the weakest link, right?
Yes.
But I want to say we are as strong as the strongest link. So it means we are. It's enough for one person to be there and start the movement of health and wellness before, during, after travel, right? If we see that someone is changing something in his or her travel habits, the person usually will share it with us, and then more people will start adopting this, right?
Mhm.
Changes come to, it's all about small, tiny changes in our habits. And that's how we can then, doing consistently, of course, that's how we can go and do make changes on a bigger scale and invite others to do it. And that's why, in our 10 Dimensions of Wellness program, when we talk about the health and wellness and also the traveler well-being here, all of this is built on those small, consistent changes, things like mindful eating, things like hydration, things like emotional or mindset regulation, things like movement, sleeping, the right sleeping rituals, right? Or I call this the good quality sleep. Um, all of this has to be done and with intention. And again, I mean, at the beginning when we talk about that, it's not about there are no changes that will happen overnight, right? Small things will make us better. We will show up, or our travelers, event attendees will show up calmer, more energized, more present at events and meetings, right? More productive. Um, their colleagues will notice those things, changes that are happening with us, with our habits, will be noticeable. And you know what? And that's important, right? Because through this, our changes that we are going through, we want to inspire others as well. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree. Um it's the beginning of the year. I think a lot of people are focusing on wellness and fitness right now, right? And I do agree that when you feel like you're trying to make an impact and when you're thinking that you're trying to change stuff about yourself, the more you talk about with other people, the more inspired that they decide to do something that you're doing too, and then it builds like camaraderie, right? And then it builds almost like accountability when you start doing things together and keeps each other motivated to keep following through. So I definitely agree with you that, you know, these social circles are really important to help build each other up as we try to make these consistent changes for ourselves, which when you're at an event and someone does something that's very unique or very different, you're going to notice that. And the next time you bring it back, or the next time you come back from an event, you're going to remember, like, oh, I should do that. So I think that's really great to encourage people to do that.
That's right.
So, based on your experiences with traveler transformations, what on the spot techniques from Finelle's programs can help maintain emotional and physical wellness during travel disruptions like delays or culture shock, or even just like a sustainability like mindset reminder?
Well, emotional wellness mindset is the most important thing. So I just want to say, I want to start with this. First of all, we just need to realize if there is something that is happening not the way we want it to happen, right? Because if there is the flight is delayed, a flight is delayed, it may be bad for us, but it may be a blessing for someone else who is trying to connect, right? And catching that tight connection, connecting flight, right? I mean, think about this, right?
Yes.
What I want to say is we just need to realize, or let's say understand, that getting upset that something is not going the way it's going to be will not change that thing. So, for example, if we're getting upset that there is a flight delay, us being upset will not change or will not expedite or speed up the flight to happen, right, or to take place. So we need to remember that. The other thing I want to remember to remind everyone, 80% of success is based on our mindset. So we are achieving the success because of in 80% because of our mindset, only in 20% because of our skills, our knowledge, our experience. People do not realize that. So, for example, if we are traveling to an event and we are preparing for a presentation, I don't know, conversation with clients, etc., and we are stressed and anxious, and we don't know what would be the best technique for us to eliminate that stress and anxiety, we go to very nervous to those meetings. We give presentations in a very nervous way, and it looks like we are not prepared and we are not the experts, right? So I just want everyone to remember that again, one more time, understand that getting upset about the situation that is not going our way will not change the situation. And the other one is very important to remember, 80% of success depends on our mindset. You want to look professional, you want to look your very best, and you want to be your message needs to be received as in a professional really good way, right? So things like a 90-second reset, think about that, simple breathing techniques, right?
Mm.
Find yourself in a place where, I don't want to say scream and shout, because screaming and shouting will not help or change your situation, but in a place, and it's hard, I realize that it's hard, somewhere, inner place, somewhere there, it's like, think about that breathing technique, think about that mindset change as quickly as possible. Small rituals may help people to de-stressing techniques. Some people like to be able to have those the toys, fidget toys, right? For some people, that may be the right thing. Some people just don't want to close their eyes, and if they're on the plane, just fall asleep or try to fall asleep. Or some people are using those eye
Eye mask.
covering masks, right? So using those kind of things may help. Every person is different. I call this, it's not that I'm a certified health coach, and when I was going through the certification, the company that created the certification program, the owner of that, Mr. Rosenthal, he created the concept of bio-individualities. So it means that we are all different. One thing may work for one person, but may not work for someone else. So you have to find something that works for you.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that also reminds us to feel empowered to take a moment if we need that moment to ourselves, right? It seems like you mentioned, the breathing exercise, if we need to fidget with something, or if we need to go find a private area where we can just like give us ourselves a moment when we're in those situations. And I think that is really key for us to remember, especially for event planners who are, consistently stressed and have a billion things at once. So it's okay to take a moment for yourself when stuff are happening, right? Even in the moment, right? So I think that's great that you're pointing that out. Mindset is something that you talk a lot about, and I think you gave us some tools that we can help us with our mindset. However, I want to pivot over to a little bit more of the physical aspect, things that are more tangible. For travelers, what digital tools or apps or um, any actual like digital resources that have been inspired by wellness dimensions, do you suggest that they can use to either track or enhance their journey through wellness during their trips, or if there's ways for them to take that data and actually create actionable insights from them, whether it's for personal or for group events?
So I will tell you one thing. Of course, there are a lot of apps and devices that we can use and travel with. Things that are tracking your hydration, your sleep quality, your stress level, your blood pressure, right? All of those apps are super helpful, but they need to be used intentionally. So what I'm trying to say is, for example, there are apps that help you minimize the impact of jet lag. Okay, just as an
Oh,
example,
okay.
there are such things. So you will be able to see, the app will tell you, okay, you are traveling, you live here, you are traveling to this XYD destination. The time difference is, let's say, 8 hours. So you need to start taking coffee now. And there are apps that tell you how
Oh,
many
wow.
glasses of coffee you need to take and what time to minimize the impact of the jet lag on you. But when I mentioned use it intentionally, it means for me, I cannot drink coffee. I get upset stomach and my liver is screaming and shouting. I just can't do it. So this app won't work for me, right?
Mhm. Yep.
So that's why I say use it intentionally. Like I keep talking today about the bio individuality. Again, Joshua Rosenthal, the owner of the creator of the school, the Integrative Nutrition Health Coaching School, which I graduate from, talks about bio individuality. Every single person is different. So this jet lag app that is telling me how many glasses of coffee and when to drink that coffee I should do won't work for me, right? Because
Yeah.
those are apps. The other apps, but there may be a different jet lag app that will help me to regulate my sleep pattern, right? So that's a
Mhm.
more natural way for me. I actually, as a health coach, and in our traveler well-being programs for travelers, we talk about minimizing jet lag in a natural way. We talk about the medication, consumption of melatonin. Many people like those tablets. For
Mhm.
us, for me, you can regulate that through food, through
Mhm.
healthy food. And there are certain food which will help you regulate, which will provide the melatonin that you need and help you regulate your sleep patterns during your travel. So that's what it is. You want to know what kind of food it is?
I am curious. Yeah, if you have it off the top of your mind, like let us know.
Well, I'm telling you, I talk about this all the time, so it's always on the top of my mind. So things like goji berries,
Mm.
fish is very good. One of this, if I ask you what is it, I'm sure you will know, which is milk. How many times do
Oh,
you
wow.
Yes, our parents used to probably say, "Hey, have a glass of milk," right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Milk, those foods like goji berries, milk, cherries, they have a higher level of melatonin it
Oh.
in themselves, however you say it but the thing is, that's why they are rich in melatonin. That's what I was trying to say. They are rich in
Mhm.
melatonin, and that's why we should consume that. Eggs is another example. So really truly you can regulate that through food as well.
I think that's great to learn from an events perspective because when you're thinking about planning your menus and you want to be health and like health conscious and nutritious focused, and you also know that a lot of your attendees are flying from the US over to the UK for an event, may, like think about working with the chef to see if there's ways you can design your menu that can help people balance the jet lag, which is an incredible thing that I have not thought of, which I think it's super cool.
So I was hired by Las Vegas Visiting Bureau, and we were giving presentations, and attendees were. I was talking about health and wellness before, during, after travel, and I will tell you one thing. We were talking about menus. We were. I was speaking when the attendees were eating, right? So we were talking about this. Um, so it's always good to know those tips and tricks which help you. And one thing is, remember, you know what you are putting on a plate. Your
Hmm.
people, your attendees may not necessarily know why this was done in this particular way
Yeah.
intentionally, right? So it's always good to tell them and explain to them, hey, we've done this in this way because of that. Many of you are flying. This will help you. This is food rich in melatonin, will help you minimize the impact of jet lag and help you sleep better.
I love that you pointed that out because in our previous episodes, we've talked about attendee communication, right? When we talk about sustainability and all of the things that we want to practice in terms of policies and logistic changes, we always try to encourage our event planners to be communicative with their attendees. So, like you said, they don't know why you're making certain menu changes. Like, even if we always promote, a plant-based diet or like a vegan, vegetarian
Mhm.
diet is a little bit better because it's lower carbon impact. And you have to communicate those things to your attendees, right? Like, tell them why you're making these changes and that how it's good for them, how it's good for the environment, and the reason behind how and why you're doing these things is very important. So I love the fact that you pointed that out. I would like to wrap up with our last question. Um, for our typical attendee who is already on site at the conference, who is rushing between sessions and networking dinner, and there very little downtime, what are your top 3 to 4 things that you share from Finelle for staying energized and looking and feeling great and avoiding that travel beast pitfall, such as like bloating, or you talked about jet lag, and also like just emotionally draining when they're on site at an event throughout the day?
So I want to tell you one thing again. Energize yourself, if I may use those words, not by struggling and straining and forcing yourself to do this, to do whatever you need to do, right? It's all about the right mindset. That's one thing, but also eating to perform, not to survive. I just want to say that, okay? And there is a common mistake people make. And that's why I want, since we are talking about food and bio individualities today,
Hmm.
imagine this: how many times we go to conferences and there is this beautiful buffet full of amazing food.
Hmm.
And we go there, and you know what? We make a lot of mistakes where we are there. Why? Because there is an order. If you want to energize your body and be full of energy for those events, for those long nights, there is an order of eating food to energize you versus to drain you.
Okay.
And that's again a common mistake we make, because we usually start with meat, with those shrimps, or French fries, and so on and so on, right? Many people do it. But the way it should be done, so let me share, since we are talking about this food. First, we should start with drinks,
Hmm.
water, right? So let's say water. Then fruit.
Oh,
Okay, that's right, because fruit then digest fast.
okay.
Then veggies,
Mm-hmm.
then dairy product, then carbs,
Hmm.
and meat is at the end. Many times, so imagine this. It makes actually sense. When you start eating dinner with meat, it is on your stomach, it is heavy there, and your body needs a lot of energy to digest meat. That's
Hmm.
why when you go to a surgery, to the in a hospital and so on, they ask you, did you eat anything? Did
Yep.
you eat meat? And because it takes time to digest, if you now you will start with meat, then you will do with fruit, and then after meat, I see a lot of people eating fruit after meat.
Yes.
Then first the body is dealing with that heavy digesting, exercise, and the fruit is waiting and
Hmm.
fermenting
Ooh.
in your body. A lot of stuff, this kind of thing may cause bloating, may cause gas, may cause stomach discomfort, and we don't want that, right? We're at the
Yeah.
conference, we are there to entertain people. We are at the conference. How many times do I hear from people like, oh, at the end of the day, I'm gassy, I feel nauseous, and so on. I remember I went to a business event, a business dinner. My boss was sitting next to me. It was a Greek restaurant, 12 people at the table, and he said, oh, Edyta, try this amazing thing, food. And of course, the first thing he put on my plate was like a Greek sausage. So, oh yes, like I left that sausage on my plate, and he said, "You are not eating it?" I said, "Yes, I am, but what else is coming?" I said, right? So I started in that particular order. You know what happened? The next day morning, he got up in the morning and he showed up at the meeting. Said, "I couldn't sleep. It was so heavy. I couldn't digest this food." And I said, "Look, I told you I don't eat meat at the very beginning. I always do it at the end, right?" And you know
Yeah.
what? The other thing is when you start with salads and veggies and fruit and so on, there is little space for meat then at the end, right? Because you are almost
Yes.
full. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily a bad thing. Remember that.
Yeah.
All right, makes sense.
Makes absolute sense. I started seeing a dietitian last year, and what you're saying is in alignment with what she's saying because it's all about portion control too, right? Like if you fill your body up on meats, which is very high in protein, where our body technically doesn't need large amounts of meat, like you said. We need more fiber, which comes from the fruits and vegetables. You're supposed to have more servings of fruits and vegetables during a well-balanced meal. So I love that how you brought that up. And it gives, event planners the opportunity to really think about what buffets, or do we want to do buffets, or do we want to do plated, or, give people the opportunity to be more conscious about their choices because how many times have we gone down a buffet line and we see these like giant plates of like full of food, and sometimes people don't eat it because they eat with their eyes. So I definitely think that's a great opportunity, a growth opportunity for our event planners who are thinking about wellness from a nutritional standpoint and not from just the cost standpoint.
That's exactly right. That's what we do. So I will give you one more example if we have time. Do we have a
Yeah,
little bit more
yeah,
time? Okay. So we like to entertain our clients when we do conference and so on with a lot of alcohol.
yes.
So I want to tell you, so the thing I want to share for everyone who is listening. Um, it's, I don't want to say dangerous, it's not. I talk about hypoxia. So when we are flying, when we are on the plane 35,000 feet above sea level, um, many people like to drink alcohol.
Hmm.
Okay. I just want to say 35,000 feet above sea level, um, the air pressure is different than what it is on the ground, right?
Yes.
When we consume alcohol, when we have one drink, it may feel or have impact on our body like three drinks on
Hmm.
the ground.
Hmm.
So remember, keep this in mind because it's a when you are organizing a conference in the mountains or in the
Hmm.
area that is elevated, Lake Tahoe, for example. I went to a conference in Lake Tahoe. It was 6,000 feet above sea level. I will tell you something. I had a nosebleed.
Ooh,
It was during my corporate America time. I didn't know what was going on with me. No one teaches us. No one was telling us anything. You know what I mean, right? That's why we're talking
yeah.
about these things. So if we are consuming alcohol, I felt so bad over there. I didn't know what was going on, like I said, with me. So
Yeah.
you are now consuming alcohol and you are not at the same level ground level like you're at home, and people
Yeah.
forget how many cocktails or glasses of wine they had,
Yeah.
and that had a much faster impact on our body than if we had those 3 glasses of wine at home.
Hmm. Hmm.
So this is important for event planners also to do it, especially to educate their employees.
Hmm.
because you want to look, if you are organizing client events, right? You want your employees to look as professional as possible and sharp and polished and everything else. And imagine this, someone will have, may think, oh, I only had 2 glasses of wine, but that may have a terrible impact on that person.
Yeah.
Much more stronger impact. And then there is that weird behavior. We don't know where it's coming from. So there you go.
Yes, thank you so much for bringing that up. I think when we are talking about wellness, alcohol is always a lot of the main focus point because we're seeing the next generation is drinking less because the next generation is a little bit more focused on wellness, which I think is a good point to bring up as well. And altitude sickness is a real thing. People who have not experienced it like don't know what's happening. So I've heard lots of stories about that. So thank you so much for bringing that up. And we'll conclude the second part of our interview today. And thank you so much, Edita, for all of the wonderful things you shared today. Our next episode will highlight important things to do after traveling. And so if you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss out on our next episode with Edita when she talks about what to do and tips and tricks on how do we take care of ourselves after travel, which I think for a lot of event planners, we don't do because we're already thinking about the next event, right? So it's a good thing for us to take a break and really think about doing that intentionally. With that said, Edita, do you have any parting thoughts?
I always talk about my book, so I will take one more opportunity to talk about my book as well. I really, truly recommend that. I call this my Bible, but it's the Traveler Wellbeing Bible. So if you are a traveler, it doesn't cost you a lot. Just simply speaking, go to Amazon, get yourself a copy. It's a perfect birthday present, or if you are going to an event, it might be an amazing, present for your employees as well, or for attendees of your conference as a gift. I do when I speak, and again, I want to offer my speaking, me as a speaker services as well. We do a lot of drawing, so I like interacting, very interactive sessions and presentations. So for participation, you have an opportunity to win my books. So
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. And as always, thanks to our audience for sipping with us. Have a great day.